Alright guys, well the hits continue to come for Unknown 9 Awokening, as even the shills in the access media, different websites across the interwebs are basically saying that this game is a horrible bland mess that never should have existed. Sites like Game Tyrant saying quick reviews, Wayfinder rules, and Unknown 9 should have stayed unknown, which I think sums up how a lot of us feel about titles like this. When you see these games, and you see the trailer, and you see some of the walkthrough and the gameplay, and you hear from the actors where there's nothing really interesting about the game itself, other than diversity, you know that you're in for a woke slop of a failure. And again, these are these AAA studios that are putting out these $300 million games and making nothing back on them. Even IGN gave this game a 5, called it bland, called it janky. Essentially, we've seen this before, but this isn't even done well. It's a repeat of better games done poorly. And this is unfortunately time and time again what we have seen and come to expect out of studios like Ubisoft, and of course from Bandai Namco. This is a bad look for them, taking on a studio that this is their first title, and what a way to start off your studio by releasing this dog crap game that nobody seems to have any interest in. There are a few sites out there like GamesHub saying we need more games like Unknown 9 Awakening. Good graphics don't make a game great, but good storytelling does. But honestly, all you have to do is look at the Steam user reviews to know that this game has neither good graphics or good storytelling. So just a cursory glance at the 200 or so reviews for this game on Steam, most of them are negative. The majority of them all say product received for free, which is a real head scratcher because, okay, why is everybody receiving this product for free? Nobody sent me a free key for this game, and I'm signed up for those sites that send me keys from indie developers. Even occasionally a AAA game trickles in here or there. So why have I never seen this game on any of those websites? Well, it's because of the fact that this was, of course, a product, a game that was included with a graphics card purchase. And of course, this is one of these things that you'll see time and time again. I've had several games that come with a processor or a GPU as a way to incentivize more users on the platform to try to create more hype around a game and inevitably try to sell more copies. But again, this is a game that has become a miserable failure. Yet again, another example of AAA gaming done wrong, woke gaming going broke. 54 people currently playing this game right now. In the middle of the evening, afternoon hours, this should be the peak game time for people. Kids are home from school, people are home from work, and this game on Steam has a whopping 54 people currently playing it, but it gets even better. Smash JT was contacted by an anonymous source, and again, these anonymous sources, you have to be careful, take it with a grain of salt. Everybody on YouTube has said the same line. I'm sure you've heard it 1,000 times, but I just had to say it so that we're thorough. He put out this article yesterday saying that a GameStop insider revealed shocking secret sales numbers for Unknown 9 Awakening. The game is beyond dead, but somehow worse than you could have imagined. Long story short, across 2,900 stores, there was around 50 copies that had been pre-ordered and nothing else. So essentially, around 350 copies of Unknown 9 for PS5 were available for shipping, but the demand was 0, meaning that none had sold. On Xbox, and this is again from the anonymous source, he claimed that they had about 150 copies and 0 sold. So between both platforms at the time of the first email, they sold 0 copies in all GameStop stores. Now, of course, this doesn't account for digital sales or anything that's not physically in a store, obviously. But if you look at that combined, if there's any validity to this, and then you start thinking about the fact, well, everybody on Steam, the 60 to... Steam does things weird. It says 60 reviews at the top and then 200 reviews at the bottom. So wherever, between 60 and 200 reviews, a vast majority of them say they received the product for free. So this does lend credence to the fact that there very well could be a completely non-existent customer base for this game, that nobody has actually walked into a store to physically purchase it. But it gets even better, because today, Stuttering Craig from Side Scroller Podcast went into his local GameStop and inquired about this game, and you just have to listen to yourself the conversation that ensued.
Hey, what's going on? Hey, a question for you. Do you have any? There's a game that came out. It's called Unknown 9 Awakening. Have you heard of that game before?
Not heard of it.
Yeah. Just curious if you have it in stock.
Unknown 9 Awakening?
Yeah. It's from Bandai Namco. It's got some sweet tunes going on in here. It's banging. Hey, have you guys
Do not have it.
you don't have any? So have you sold any here at this location by chance?
That I don't know. Not while I've worked here.
No.
I work 2 stores, so I'm off and on all week.
And you never even heard of the game, huh? Okay, cool.
Well,
So this is somebody who works at physical locations, 2 different locations according to this person that he spoke to at GameStop, and he says, I've never even heard of the game. Now, ironically, this kind of ties into the next topic on this video, Dragon Age Veilguard, a game that was also being given away with NVIDIA purchases. And again, a lot of people say, well, you know what, so what? There are plenty of games that are given away with graphics cards and processors and whatnot just to try to, again, to create that hype around the game, especially around the time it releases. But we have seen games that are struggling, that are absolutely failing miserably, that have done this, and it has not even increased their player numbers. If you look at games like Avatar: Frontiers of Pandora, this game was given out with all Ryzen 9 CPUs, 7950Xs, and of course, if you look at the player numbers for that game, it peaked 4 months ago at 1,100 players and is currently sitting at about 119 people still playing it. Again, this is a game that I remember having some allegations of wokeness tied into it, but across the vast majority of people, it was just a non-existent customer base again for this title. Then, of course, you have games like Star Wars Outlaws, a game that struggled just to sell 1 million units that was also available on the GeForce RTX 40 series. Now again, a lot of people want to say, well, what about Black Myth Wukong? They gave that game away with the RTX 40 series as well, and yes, they absolutely did. However, this is a game that crushed 2.4 million peak players 2 months ago, and while the player numbers have dwindled now, obviously it's a single player game and there's no DLC yet, you can just wait and see what happens when that DLC comes out next year and look at the player numbers that will come back to this title. However, back to Dragon Age Veilguard, we have seen some crazy stuff about this game. A lot of discussion about the agenda being put into this game, the LGBT mafia push, especially given the fact that Corinne Bush, the person who's the director of the game, is a transgender individual, somebody who's living essentially a lie, not the gender that they were born, obviously. And of course, we have seen this playtester reveal how the ultra-woke game really is beginning with the non-binary Kunari companion. This is again from a playtester, from a YouTuber, Nure, I believe her name was, and she has actually discussed this with a playtester about how the Kunari character, the companion, walks right up to you and says, I'm non-binary. Again, how this fits into the fantasy setting in this game series is beyond me, but there you have it. But it gets even better. So there was a video that came out yesterday from Neon Knight, and he actually got to playtest this game for himself for about 7 hours, and I'm just going to play part of his video for you to listen to for yourself, because it's pretty eye-opening, the issues that this game is facing, given the fact that it is going to ultimately split the fan base into 2.
But I left the Veilguard recording event with a small pit in my stomach, because I knew that the honest way I would describe this game would be about the last thing most Dragon Age fans would want to hear. Now, I don't say that from a I had a terrible time and the game has no redeeming qualities perspective, but instead from, well, you know what, here's a good way to put it. My prediction is that there are going to be 2 games that Veilguard will constantly be compared to, one in terms of gameplay and the other for tone. On the gameplay side of things, well, if you haven't been able to tell by just, using your eyeballs, Veilguard's combat and exploration is full-blown, or at least 85% blown, God of War 2018 worship. This new Dragon...
Now that's something that I personally don't have too much of an issue with. I know that Dragon Age games, depending on which game you're playing, obviously a lot of it is strategy and tactics as well as some combat, but again, I'm fine with both. So for me personally, hearing it's compared to God of War is not that big of a deal. Not a deal breaker, but just wait till you see the second game he compares it to.
Dragon Age is all about the action. Building up a rage meter to release an ultimate, getting your perfect parries in, shield throws, talismans that activate special abilities, plenty of pots to break and chests to open, you get it. Point is, somebody really liked God of War 2018 and said, why don't we just do that and be done with it? Now, that's not all there is to say about combat, don't worry, we still need to get to where that thin coat of paint even comes into play, but the other comparison I think people will constantly make, this time in terms of the game's tone, is to that Guardians of the Galaxy game from a few years ago, and this is the point of the video where some of you recoil in horror and maybe projectile vomit, but it's also the point where at least some of you are probably thinking, hey, those are 2 not bad at all games, you could...
And again, I think the point is fair that if it's compared to 2 games that were both decent games, then fine, that's at least a decent effort by BioWare to make a good game, but I'm struggling with the concept that somehow a Dragon Age game can continue from where they left off and be able to be compared to both God of War and Guardians of the freaking Galaxy. These are not two things that, as a longtime Dragon Age fan, I would ever imagine being mashed up into a sequel to Inquisition. And again, this is from a game 10 years ago, I believe Inquisition came out. It's been a long time. And here we have the mashup of God of War and Guardians of the Galaxy. So there's more to this video. I will link it down below. Go watch it in your time. He does go through a lot of the highs and lows of the game, the good, the bad, the ugly. But I'm going to leave it right there, guys. Let me know what you think about this. Share your thoughts down below, and I will catch you guys on the next one. All right, and if you made it this far, thank you so much for watching the video. Thank you for being here. I do have 2 channels, Minimal Effort Podcast, as well as my gaming channel. I do have a Twitch and Kick for my gaming channel. We do live streams over there occasionally, maybe once a week. And then if you are in the market for a new PC, make sure to check out Meta PCs. Click the link I have down below. Use code TBO at checkout for a special discount. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you next time.